Ayilimeleke ekhulunywa ngayo ku 3.2 yona ke ayikho kwisimo ke sokuthi yayingaqhathaniswa ke ngenxa yokuthi ke yayilimele.
Paragraph 10. The conclusions arrived at were based on facts established by means of an examination and processes which requires knowledge and skill in ballistics.
Lokho ke noma ke engafikelela kona ke egcineni ke ngasho ukuthi kuyikona ke kwakungenxa ke yeqiniso kanye namaqiniso ke noma ke ama facts nokuthi lokho ukuthola ngokuthi ke ubhekeke noma uhloleke lokho kuhlola lokho okufuna ke ukuthi ulwazi ke kanye futhi ke neskill kuona ama ballistic.
Paragraph 11. After examination, the exhibits mentioned in paragraph 3, 4, and 5 were disposed as follows.
Yes.
On the 23rd of July 2020, the exhibits mentioned and tests mentioned in paragraph 3.1, 3.2, and 8.2 were sealed in evidence bag with number PA 60042107772 and are filed in case file with lab number 217267, which is the Phosphorus case file.
Kwase kuthi ke emuva kokuthi kwahlolwa ke ufakazi lobu obuchaziwe ke ku paragraph 3, 4 kanye no 5 ke kwenzwa lokho kulandelayo ke ngako nge 23 zika July 2020 ama exhibits kanye nama test ke ashiwo ke ku 3.1, 3.2 kanye no 8.2 ase efakwa ke isikhwama sobufakazi esinenamba eUPA 60042107772 ase egcinwa ke noma efayilwa ke kuyona ke i-case file ene-lab 0217267114 ekuyena ke leyase Phosphorus.
And on the same day, the test mentioned in 4.1 and 4.2 were sealed in evidence bag with number PA 60042107765 and were filed in case file with lab number 34369/15, which is the Cleveland case file.
Kwase kuthi ngalelo langa ke ama test ke la khulunywa ngawo ku 4.1 kanye no 4.2 asefakwa ke isikhwameni sobufakazi esinenamba eUPA 60042107765 afayilwa ke kuyona ke i-case file selab EU3436915 ekuyile yase Cleveland.
Paragraph 11.3. On the 27th of July, the exhibits mentioned in paragraph 7 were sealed in evidence bag with number PA 400440432 and were handed over to the SAP 13 store in Cleveland SAPS.
Nge 27 zika July 2020 ama exhibits ekhulunywa ngawo ku paragraph 7 avalelwa noma afakwa ke kwisikhwama sase sivalwa ke sobufakazi esinenamba eUPA 400440432 ase endluliselwa ke ku SAP 13 store eyase Cleveland amaphoyiseni.
Was an entry made in this regard when the exhibits were returned?
That's correct, madam.
Uma ke lokhu sekubuyiselwa khona ke eCleveland nalapho ke kwabhalwa ke ukuthi kwabuyiselwa.
Can I ask you to once again to turn to exhibit X in brackets 2, the 4th page thereof, on the date 27 July 2020. So what is the entry?
That on the 27th of July 2020, I can't see what is written here, but I can see 3.1 to 3.3 booked back by Lieutenant Colonel C. Mangena.
Lana ke 27 zika July 2020 yithi item 3.1 to 3.3 lase sibuyiselwa ke by Lieutenant Colonel Mangena.
And what happened after you booked the exhibits back in?
After booking in the exhibit as a SAP 13, the investigating officer, Brigadier Gininda, booked them out and said he wants to keep them, remove them from the station for safekeeping. So
emuva kokuthi ngalithatha ke noma lawo ma exhibit lawo ngawasa khona ke eCleveland wahamba ke umphenyi wecala uBrigadier Gininda wathi ke ufuna uwagcina ke kuyena ke amagama ufuna ukuthi awasuseke epolice station.
Yes.
He said he wanted to keep them safe until the court proceedings, and he feels it's not safe there at the station, but he doesn't have a safe. So he requested me, since I have an exhibit safe at work that I keep all my exhibits, I can take the firearm, he will book it back to me, where I can sign that I'm keeping the exhibit with me. And then he brought the exhibit to me at the lab, and I kept them in a safe.
Ngoba ethi ke yena ke wayefila ke ukuthi ke awakho safe ke e-police station uyawakhipha ke ngoba wathi ke futhi ke akanayo ke i-safe ke yena ke uyacela ke ukuthi mina ngiwagcine kumina ke e-lab.
And just for record purposes, what were these exhibits that you kept in your safe at the lab?
The exhibits that I kept in the lab were the firearm and the box of ammunition that I've just. They were kept in my safe, exhibit safe, since the same day that we took them back from the station until today when I bring them to court.
Imkhuluma ngaso isibhamu kanye ke nebox lena ke zakhishwa ke ngaleli langa lena ke enkhuluma ngalo ukuthi ke ubrigadier Ginyenda wayokhipha ke e-police station kwaze kwanamuhla zagcinwa ke esafini yami kwaze kwanamuhla ke njengoba ngiza nazo la enkantolo.
Yes, you can read the rest of your affidavit.
In paragraph 12, during the performance of my official duties, the exhibits mentioned were for the purpose of the examination kept in my custody under lock and key from the 20th of July until the 27th of July.
Nkathi ke ngenza ke umsebenzi wami ama exhibits lana ke ekhulunywa ngawo ke ngokuthi ke ayezohlolwa ke agcinwa ke yimina ke ngiwakhiyele ngazo i20 ukusuka ngazo i20 zika July 2020 kwaze bayoshaya ke i27 zika July 2020.
Do you confirm the correctness of your affidavit and stand by it?
That's correct, my lord.
Impela ke ngiyaqinisekisa ukuthi lokhu okulana ke kule affidavit ke kuyiqiniso.
If we can perhaps just deal with general issues, Colonel. Now, earlier on, you referred to your central registration system. Can you just explain what is the position when cartridges are sent to the lab? Is there a record kept of the results of those cartridges? And if so, what is the position regarding bullets?
When they are sent to the lab?
Yes, after tests have been carried out. Is there central data where the information is stored?
My lord, we have the IBIS system, which is the Integrated Ballistics Identification System. It's a system that we're using for comparison of different cases and outstanding cases. Normally what we do is, if we receive cartridge cases from the crime scene, we examine them first to determine how many firearms were used. And if we can determine, let's say we have 20 cartridge cases, and they were fired in 5 firearms, what we'll do, we'll take one specimen from each. We acquire it on the IBIS system, because they were fighting different firearms. And we'll compare them with outstanding cases. Now, what we do, when you do a comparison on the IBIS system, the IBIS system will catch the breech face, the firing pin, the ejector, and the extractor marks. So that's what we acquire on the system, and it will continue comparing that. If we receive the firearm, we do the same thing. We shoot a test with the firearm, and one of the tests, let's say maybe TC1, like in this case I'll say 369 TC1, we acquire it on the IBIS system to compare with outstanding cases. We do that.
I want to understand. It's sort of a bank.
It's sort of a data bank.
Data bank.
Yes.
which you can refer to at any time regarding other cases?
What we'll do is, if you have this firearm under the Cleveland,
Yeah.
you can request it to be compared with other cases, and it's either you make it provincial or national.
Okay.
When you do it national, it will, if there's any firearm or if there any exhibit cartridge cases that link, it will give you the possibility that this cartridge case, then you have to get them and compare them to confirm if this is the right firearm.
Okay.
Sine system esibiza ke ngokuthi i-IBIS la khona ke uma kuukuthi ke ama cartridge atholakeleke asithi ke awu20 mhlambe ke kunezibhamu ezahlukeneke ezisetshenzisiwe lapho ke kuleyo system ila khona ke iyakwazi yona ke ukuthi uma ibheka kuleyo cartridges ukuthi ke kubhekwe namanye ke amacala aphenywayo noma ke akusona icala elihlangene ngaleso sikhathi leso noma into leyo esiyenza isifunda noma ke esiyenza ke nationally yona ke izokutshela ke ukuthi noma ke kuyisibhamu futhi naso kwenziwa ngaleyo ndlela ke futhi naso sibhekwe kuleyo IP system leyo ukuthi yini akhona amanye amacala ahlanganiswa naso leso sibhamu leso.
No,
If the system is not, if the system is not overloaded, you'll take about 5 to 10 minutes to acquire one cartridge case. And then we do the same thing with the bullets also. But now the challenge is with one bullet, you can take up to 20 minutes to 30 minutes acquiring one bullet, because we have to acquire each and every groove that's on the bullet. So the decision that was taken at the lab was that with pistols, because in most cases, if a pistol is used, it will eject cartridge cases of the crime scene, and most cartridge cases will be collected at the scene. We do cartridge cases only on pistols. And in case of a revolver, because a revolver doesn't eject cartridge cases at the scene, if bullets are recovered, we'll do bullets on the system also, but you can also do the cartridge cases. In case of like hunting rifles, where you have bigger calibers, like calibers that are used for rhino poaching, all the bullets of bigger calibers, we acquire them on the system to compare with other cases. Now, in this instance, on the first Laura's case, because there was no cartridge cases, it was only a bullet, and we don't acquire 9mm or pistol ammunition. That's the reason why we missed the hit on this exhibit, where we were supposed to, if there was a cartridge case, it would have been compared with the Cleveland case around 2015. We could have found a hit on that one. That's how we missed the hit on that one.
Lana ke uma sikhuluma ngazo ke ama cartridge uyakwazi uthatha ke u5 no 10 minutes kuyona ke isystem, kodwa ke uma sikhuluma ngayo ke ibullet yona ke yakwazi uthatha ke u20 minutes. Futhi ke la igcinene ke uma isethi ke kuyona ke lena icase okwabangelaka ukuthi ke ihit ke size ke simiseke noma ke sigejeke ingoba ke kwakungena cartridge case eyayikhona ke khona lapho esasingayihlanganisa noma siqhathaniswe kanye nayo.
Now, Lieutenant Colonel, the exhibit 2 that has just been handed up, the firearm,
Lana ke phambi kwami ke i9mm iparabellum.
you mentioned just now that there were no cartridge cases.
Pistol, but there are no cartridge cases. There are instances where you found that when the shots were fired, if people were crowded, there's possibility that the cartridge cases could have landed on people's clothing. When they move away from the crime scene. There are instances where you find the person has been shot at the crime scene. At the mortuary, when they undress the person, they find the cartridge cases on the body. And in this instance,
Just a minute.
Lana ke kunezathu ezahlukeneke engabangela ke ukuthi ama cartridge nama magobolondo engazange atholakaleke lapha yana kuyenzeka ke ukuthi la kunabantu ke nesixuku sabantu khona ke ukuthi lawa magobolondo lawo aweleke impahla zabantu abayigqokile ngesinye isikhathi uyathola ukuthi uma umuntu esemakhazeni noma kwenza esemochwari ke uma ngaba esekhumulwa ke impahla yakhe atholakale ela kena ke emzimbeni.
in this instance, what I'm looking at is, if you look at the shot that was fired or how the deceased was shot, it's a contact shot to the body. The firearm was in contact with the body. There's a possibility that his hands could have been on the firearm. If, let's say, the firearm is pointed at him, the shot is fired, his hands is holding the firearm. This will affect the cycling of a firearm, because when a firearm is fired, the shot is fired, and then the firearm must cycle. When the slide moves back, it ejects the fired cartridge cases and then load another round. Now, in the process, if the firearm is held in this position, the slide will not move. So the fired cartridge case will stuck inside the chamber. So that we cannot rule out.
Kusengenzeka-ke ukuthi ngalendlela-ke abonisa ngayo-ke ukuthi mhlampe isandla sakhe uma ufisa sisibambileke isibhamu kanjeni. Uma kukanjalo-ke le part lena angeke ize ihambeke, lokho okungenza-ke ukuthi igobolondo noma i-cartridge leyo-ke ihlale ngaphakathi ingaphumi.
Another issue that has come up in this matter is the issue of primer residue.
Well,
What is your commentary regarding the conducting of tests, primer residue tests?
Well, firstly, we need to understand what are the primer residue, because there's a difference between the primer residue and the propellant powder particles or the gunpowder. When you're talking about the gunpowder or the propellant, it's the powder particles which are found inside this, which burns and turns into gas. And when you're talking about the primer residue, we have this as the primer. And what's the function of the primer? The function of the primer is to ignite the propellant powder that is inside. Now, when the firing pin of the firearm strikes the primer of this will produce flame. So the primer residue is like the ashes from this primer when it produces flame to ignite the propellant powder. Now, when the firearm cycles, that the particles will be ejected and it will be thrown everywhere. Now, in instances where a person tests positive for primer residue or even on the clothing, it does not necessarily mean the person has discharged the firearm. It can be one of the four possibilities. It can be that the person has discharged a firearm. It can be that the person has touched a firearm that has just been discharged. It can be that the person was within the vicinity of 2 square meters when the shot was fired. Or it can be a contamination. Now, when you speak of contamination, in this case, what I'm looking at is the deceased was shot in a contact shot. So the residue, the primer residue, it's most likely will contaminate his clothing, his t-shirts. Now, when you look at the people who were in the house, they tried to resuscitate, they carried him into the car to take him to the hospital. In that instance, there could have been contamination. So there could be a possibility that all the people who touched him can test positive for primer residue. And that does not necessarily mean they've discharged the firearm. And does not necessarily mean they were there. But because they've touched him, they can test positive. I can give another example in the case of where you get a person who commits suicide. He shoots himself and then drops, the firearm drops next to him. The first person who responds finds him lying down. He takes the firearm, removes the firearm. The person who removes the firearm can also test positive because they've touched the firearm that has just been discharged. So the primer residue, it depends on the case. Let's say if we have murder cases, all the murder cases cannot be examined the same or cannot be investigated the same way. It will depend on the merit of the case. In this case, I would think that conducting the primer residue on this would not be assisting us with anything.
Masiqala ke egcineni kwangeke kusiza ngalutho ukuthi ke senzeke i-test lena ye-primer residue. Uma sisho-ke lana-ke sibheke okokuqala ukuthi umufi uma edutshulwa-ke noma isibhamu lesi-ke sasisondele kakhulu-ke kuyena noma sasila kuyena emzimbeni ukuthi-ke leyo powder noma leyo residue leyo-ke yayingagcwala-ke kuyena-ke eyimpahleni la kuyena-ke bese kuba nabantu futhi abamthatha bamhambisa labo bantu nabo-ke leyo primer-ke ingatholakala kubona-ke lokho-ke akusho ukuthi laba badubula-ke kungenzeka ukuthi umuntu uma enayo ukuthi wabamba isibhamu ukuthi wayeseduze nala kwakudutshulwa ngakhona noma-ke futhi waba nokuphazamisa abanako-ke wasenikezwa nangesibonelo-ke somuntu oyidubulile ukuthi leyo muntu uma eyidubula awe phansi-ke nesibhamu beseduze kwakhe umuntu ozofika sithathe leso sibhamu leso naye-ke angatesta positive akusho kodwa lokho ukuthi uyena-ke umuntu odubulile.
Lieutenant Colonel, if I can ask you to turn to Exhibit S. These are the photos of the downloads of the cell phone of accused number 3. Exhibit S should be there.
Exhibit S.
Yes. It will be shown on the screen just now. There's a photo with various firearms. If you can tell the court whether you are able to see Exhibit 2, the firearm that's currently before court. Yes, are you able to identify it on any of those photos? You can page through all the photos where the firearms are shown. You can have a look at that one on the screen.
It's not the same type of firearm.
Akusona ke lesi isibhamu.
Yes, and that one.
My lord, this is also a CZ75.
Nalena
It's the same type of firearm, but I cannot confirm that it is the one that we have now.
nalena
It's the
isizet
same model.
4075 kodwa ngeke ngisho ukuthi ilesi esiphambi kwenkantolo kodwa imodel eyodwa.
What picture number is it, Mr. Bulwi?
40, my lord.
40.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Right, and just on those ones.
I cannot see clearly the types of firearms that are there.
Angiyiboni kahle ke lezi inhlobo zezibhamu ezilapha yana kulesithombe.
Okay, you can also look at the album.
Yes, my lord, the photos are too blurry. I cannot confirm
Okay.
what type. What
Ayigamile ke ithombe lezi angikwazi ukusho ke kahle ke.
Now, Warrant Officer Musia took some swabs from the kitchen tile on the wall to swaps 5 and 6. I just want to show you a photo where he took swap 5 and 6. I think it's photo 86 and 87. It's photo 91 and 92. Now, swap 6, which was a wet swap from the kitchen tile on the wall. We have the DNA results there on as per exhibit X11. And the results are that swap number 6, the deceased profile can be read in the DNA material that was found on the swap. What would your comment be regarding the blood that was found there on the kitchen wall?
On the kitchen wall.
Yes.
My Lord, if we look at the bleeding of the deceased, how he was shot, the entrance is on the chest, the exit is at the back. And if he starts bleeding, he's wearing a vest and a t-shirt. So for blood to be on the crime scene, for blood to start dripping, the t-shirt and the vest that he was wearing has to soak in blood first. And there's gravity, so blood will be, or it can start dripping. So the blood that we see there, it might be when they were transporting him, or after maybe somebody touched the blood and then touched the wall, transferring that blood to the wall. But that cannot be related to the wound as he was shot at.
Leli gazi ke elibonakala laphayana noma elikhonjwa laphayana ngeke kuthiwe igazi leli ke eliphuma kulona ke inxeba ngoba ngenzeka nanjengoba adutshulwa ke ukuthi kuzoqala nanjengoba wayegqoke iskipa kanye nevest ukuthi iqale kube izona ke ezimanzi ezisokwa kulona ke igazi lelo ukuze liqale ke ukuthi liconsise futhi ke siwileke nokuthi ke base bemthatha ke mhlambe kunomuntu owambamba ke wase eyobamba khona lapha ubondini.
Because when if you can look at how he was wounded or how the wound was inflicted, it's a gunshot. When you look at our 9mm, normal 9mm pistol, when you look at the muzzle velocity of a 9mm, the muzzle velocity of a 9mm bullet is between 350 and 380 meters per second. So it's very quick. So if a person is shot, before he could start bleeding, the bullet is already gone, it's gone. So chances of finding blood on that bullet are very slim. Because as it exits, there's a t-shirt, there's a vest, which can wipe the blood, can remove the blood. And again, the speed, when it travels, again, the speed of that bullet can also remove blood due to the wind as it cuts through the wind.
Nangesivinini ke inhlamvu ehamba ngaso ngakhulukazi ke i9 mm u350 kuya ke ku308 meter ngesecond ke kungenzeka kune vest kune t-shirt ukuthi nayo nazo ke zingalisula ke lelo gazi lelo uthi uma eqala nje ukopha ke ibise inhlamvu yona kade iphumile.
That's good, please, my lord. This is almost time to call it a day for today. Yes, it's 3:30.
Okay.
Can we then adjourn until tomorrow?
Tomorrow. Are you available, Lieutenant, tomorrow?
I'm available, my lord.
Okay. Then until 10 o'clock tomorrow.